This video is sponsored by Skillshare.
On this episode of Weird Fishing Lures, we take a look at a lure that is no longer in production. And when you see what this lure actually looks like, I think you'll agree that it's for the better. I am no stranger to weird things. As a matter of fact, I've done some weird things in these videos. But the lure that we are going to be talking about today is so weird that when I first laid eyes on it, it blew my mind. I first came across this lure when I was perusing the internet, and originally I was looking for the worst fishing lure ever created, and there was a list of some of the worst fishing lures ever created, and this bait was ranked among them. But the thing that really intrigued me is how downright bizarre this lure is. It is the hover lure. This bait is one of the weirdest things I have ever seen. The first episode that I ever filmed of Weird Fishing Lures, I talked about the helicopter lure. This bait falls right into that same vein. Really weird, bizarre lures that were promoted heavily through really cheesy infomercials.
Strike! Incredible, isn't it?
And that claim to be the best lure ever created. They use a lot of slow-mo footage of bass eating this lure out of a tank, and they use a lot of hype and buzzwords in order to get anglers pawing at the bit to buy this lure.
Just watch how the big bass are drawn to the irresistible hover lure.
When in reality, these lures are actually pretty terrible and weird. So as you can see, this is the hover lure packaging right here. You get kind of this little tackle box with a lot of different moving parts, which right off the bat is a really bad sign. Generally, when you buy fishing lures, you like to just have something you can take out of the package and use. This requires some assembly and some tweaking, and I'm not looking forward to trying to fish with this. Let me just say that. However, this lure claims to be the most unique fishing system on the market today. So we'll have to see how it turns out. Upon opening this small tackle box, you are greeted with an array of different parts. You have this part right here. This is kind of the main buoy of the lure, and it's supposed to imitate like a lily pad or something, according to the pictures I've seen. Then you have a bunch of customizable options, including a bunch of different colored eyes you can stick on your lure to kind of customize them. Then you also have a bunch of dragonfly wings, again in various colors. Then you have a variety of hooks and some small weights. You also have some plastic dragonfly bodies. In case you guys didn't know, this bait is trying to imitate a dragonfly. And then a couple of these hooks right here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and assemble one of these lures and show it to you, and you'll see for yourself how weird this lure is. All right guys, you may be wondering, how do you actually rig this up? Well, I'm gonna show you real quick. First of all, you take your little plastic body right here and you go ahead and put some eyes on it. They have these little stick-on eyes right here. The next thing you do is take your little wings right here and snap them right onto the top. Once you have your eyes and your little wings attached, then you go ahead and take your hook right here and slide it into the slit on the belly of this thing right here, like so. Then it comes time to actually mount it on this weird contraption right here. And for that, you actually just clip it right into the nose like this. And there you go. That's how your bait is set up. Now you may be wondering how you actually tie this bait on. You just put your line right through here, and then it goes down through this guide here in the front. This kit also comes with some rubber tubing and a little weight, and this is to actually weight the bottom of the lure. So what you do is you take your weight, insert it into your rubber tubing, like so. I actually trimmed this down a little bit, and then it just slides onto the bottom like this. And that acts as a belly weight in order to keep this bait above the water. As you can see, this is the hover lure. We have this weird buoy-shaped object right here. Then we have a small stem right here, and on that stem there is a tiny little dragonfly plastic body with a very small hook protruding out of the bottom. This is supposedly the most revolutionary fishing system of all time. This piece of cheap plastic with a little hook. The basic premise of this bait is somewhat interesting in theory, I guess. This thing right here is supposed to resemble some sort of a leaf or a lily pad or something like that, and this thing is hollow and it is buoyant. So when you throw this out in the water, it actually sits on the surface of the water like this. And it suspends this little dragonfly above the water. And the theory is that as you walk this in, the bass will jump out of the water and grab the dragonfly. Now, it is no secret that bass feed on the surface of the water, but generally when you're fishing a topwater lure for a bass, you're fishing it on the surface of the water. not above the surface. But this bait takes it a step farther. It actually suspends the actual lure above the surface of the water. Now let me just say this. I have been out on the water a lot. I've seen a lot of bass hit on the surface of the water, but I have never seen a bass jump out of the water and grab something in midair. Can a bass do that? Absolutely. There is video evidence of this actually happening. I've seen videos of people reeling in a lure, and when they pull it up out of the water, a bass will literally clear the water and grab the bait. So bass do have the coordination in order to grab something out of the water. So it is possible for a bass to jump out of the water and grab something out of midair. But again, like I said, I have never witnessed this in my entire life, and I am fairly certain that it's somewhat of a rare occurrence. It doesn't happen all that often. So that right off the bat makes me very, very skeptical as to whether or not this lure is going to work. The second thing that makes me very skeptical about this bait is this part right here. This actual buoy part creates a disturbance on the surface of the water and actually creates somewhat of a silhouette. So I think it's way more likely that a bass will actually strike at this buoy thing and not at the faint silhouette of this hovering dragonfly. And if a bass is hitting it right here, there's not really any way he's going to get hooked. But again, this is all speculation. We won't know until we take this bait out on the water and try to catch a fish with it. So with that in mind, let's head to a pond. These fish better be really hungry. I want to take a quick moment to thank the sponsor of this video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community where you can access all kinds of high-quality, ad-free courses that are going to help you not only gain new skills and be good at new things, but it's also going to help you improve your creativity and be able to express yourself in a creative way. Now, I know that a lot of people that watch my YouTube videos have an interest in starting a YouTube channel themselves. And let me just say, when I started out YouTube, we didn't really have many tools available to help teach us what we needed to know when it came to building a YouTube channel. I mean, the way I built this channel was basically just trial and error, just trying different things until something worked. Well, thankfully, Skillshare has you covered on this front. There is a fantastic class by Marquez Brownlee. He's one of the top tech YouTubers in the game, one of my personal favorites. I love watching his stuff, and he has a course called YouTube Success. This thing's gonna go over all the things you need to know for starting a YouTube channel: lighting, shooting, editing, scripting, coming up with video ideas. The first 1,000 people to sign up using the link in the description are gonna get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. You can access any of the courses you want. This offer is only available until September of this year, so if you are looking to start a YouTube channel, or maybe you wanna get into photography, maybe you wanna get into graphic design, maybe you wanna build a small business, Skillshare has all the courses that you need to get started right now. All right, so I've been fishing with this lure for a little bit now, and I have to say, this thing is utter trash. I'm gonna be hard pressed to catch a fish in this pond with this lure. And granted, the fish in this pond, they're very, very aggressive. They'll hit almost anything. The first thing about this bait that is really annoying is the fact that you can't fish it very fast. If you try to fish it fast, it flips on its side and it does not have a good action. So you have to fish it very, very slow, and you kind of have to just twitch it across the surface. Another problem I'm running into with this bait is that it flips over quite a bit. So I have to be very careful when I cast, and I have to fish it very carefully. Otherwise, it'll flip over on its back. It's not looking good for this thing. I officially hate this lure. Yep, and look, the wing just flew off right there. This hunk of trash, dude. It just flipped over again. Stop doing that. This thing doesn't even walk very good. It just kind of slugs through the water. Oh, there are fish out. We actually had a bite, guys. Something swatted at it. Hit it again. Please, please. Something swatted at it, but it was a very light bite. You see that? It was just like a pop. The fish just kind of swatted at it because I'm pretty sure it's never seen anything like it before. And yeah, the fish realized real quick that this is not something it wants to munch on. And the stupid wings came off again. Look at this. The wings keep flying off this piece of trash. All right. Alrighty guys, I think I'm gonna call it quits with this lure. This lure is literally making me angry. I did have 2 fish strike at this bait, but they just kind of pecked at it and left it alone at that. Just to give you some quick context as to how good the fishing is in this pond and how aggressive these fish are, I'm just gonna tie on this thing right here. This is a swim jig with a Brendan Miller Signature Series swim bait on the back. And I'm gonna show you how aggressive these fish are. Boom, right there. So as you can see, these fish are very aggressive and they're chomping today. The main problem with this bait, I believe, is this big thing right here, this honking big green thing with a weight on the bottom. It just doesn't look that appealing, and the tiny little silhouette that is cast by this thing right here is not really enough, at least in this situation, to coax the fish to bite. So guys, what are my final thoughts on this lure? Well, it's pretty much hot garbage. Trying to catch a fish with this thing was one of the most frustrating things I've done in a while. The bait just does not work very well at all. Some of the main problems are the bait can't cast very far, the little wings fly off all the time, and the bait repeatedly flips over on its back, and the action of the bait, honestly, is pretty trash. The only thing this bait really has going for it is it does provide some sort of a silhouette above the water that looks kind of like a dragonfly. So I guess that's kind of cool. But yeah, I was not able to really catch anything with this thing. I had a couple hits. A couple times bass would come up and smack at the actual like lily pad part of the bait, but they would never actually go for the dragonfly. They would just kind of come up and smack at the plastic part and then leave it alone. Thankfully, this bait is no longer in production because it's honestly a rip-off, and you'd be far better spending your money on real topwater lures that actually work. Something like a popper, something like a buzzbait, something like a Sierra Spook are gonna work 100 times better than this thing. So guys, there you go. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Weird Fishing Lures. Let me know down in the comments below what weird fishing lure I should review next. And as always, stay hooked. I'll see you later.